It is 11 o'clock on Monday, March 16th, in the Storm Center. I'm meteorologist Megan Borowski with SCETV and South Carolina Public Radio. Thanks for joining us this morning. We are in the Storm Center tracking severe thunderstorms associated with a cold front as a storm system really barrels across the country. We've got on graphics snow up in the Great Lakes, and you can see a cold front extending all the way down through the Appalachian Mountains and into the southeast, including our state. We've already had severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for us this morning. Thankfully, things have calmed down a little bit, but we do expect activity to ramp up really into the afternoon hours. I'm actually going to jump here to my analysis mode so we can see a live look at radar. We did have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Chesterfield County all the way down to Sumter County, but that expired just about 1 to 2 minutes ago. Looks like the National Weather Service did not extend that warning. We'll see if they do issue any additional warnings over the course of this live stream. We thank you for tuning in wherever you are streaming this hour as we track these storms. Really noticing on radar, again, in our state right now, not a whole lot going on, but if I zoom out and I can put on my composite view as well so we can see the width and the breadth of the storm, just to our north over North Carolina into Virginia, this system is spawning thunderstorms that are capable of producing damaging winds or tornadoes right over the North Carolina, Virginia line. There's actually several tornado warnings in effect right now. Thankfully, that is not the case for our state, but things are likely going to change over the next couple of hours into the start of the afternoon. Looks like that we do have a little bit of daylight that's heating up the profile of the atmosphere, and that could destabilize things enough that we get additional severe thunderstorms developing later on this afternoon, particularly for the I-95 corridor and just west of the I-95 corridor. That's what we're going to be watching over the next couple of hours once we get to lunchtime and shortly thereafter. And then during the mid-afternoon, our attention really will turn toward the area east of I-95, of course, and closer to the coastline. We'll be watching those spots in the PD and the Low Country after we get a couple of hours after lunchtime. But good news on radar. We'll switch it back to our Columbia radar right now. Not a whole lot going on. If I do zoom in, we do see a couple of pockets of our heavier rain rates. That's those red colors right now, extending anywhere from Hartsville, just east of Bishopville, down to Sumter, to Lake Marion, and towards Santee. Couple of pockets of heavier rain rates. Notice that they're not widespread. They're isolated and localized. But farther to our west, toward the state capital and parts of the northern Midlands, at least, we do have pockets of those yellow colors as well, indicating moderate rain rates. So we're just getting in on some rainfall right now for most spots. Also, if I'll toggle down to my current conditions here, we do have current wind gusts being observed anywhere over 30-mile-an-hour gusts right along the coastline. Both Myrtle Beach and Charleston have recently observed gusts between 35, 36 miles an hour within the last hour or so. Even in Columbia, 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts, Florence, 23-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So even outside of these severe thunderstorms and these strong thunderstorms, we do have quite blustery conditions. A lake wind advisory remains in effect for the Midlands through later today. But keep that in mind that even if you are not located within a strong thunderstorm cell, that you do have the potential for gusty winds through at least the evening. I'm going to show you the current alerts that are in effect right now. Looks like that we do have updates as of the top of the hour. So last time I joined you, just about 15-20 minutes ago, we did have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for the upstate, and also our tornado watch extended a little bit farther west. Notice as our storm and our cold front now continues to move east toward the I-95 corridor, our tornado watch is now just in effect for those counties near and immediately west of the I-95 corridor as well. So that's a good sign to actually see these watches start to expire for the Midlands and for the upstate. That means in those areas you're not totally in the all clear. We do expect a couple or more batches of cells to move through a little bit later today, but the most severe storms are likely, that threat is likely dwindling for your area. Now our attention turns to the immediate vicinity of the I-95 corridor, and then also east of I-95 into the Low Country for the afternoon hours. So that's what we are going to be watching over the next couple of hours into the afternoon. So those are our tornado watches in effect right now. I do want to toggle us onto Futurecast and kind of get an idea of what could happen over the next couple of hours. I will say that I have been watching this model. I do think that it's a little bit liberal in terms of the scope of our heavier rain rates, at least on this one particular run of the model, but I do think that the placement of storms is spot on. So we're going to go through time here over the next couple of hours. Notice lunchtime shortly thereafter, our line of a broken line of stronger thunderstorms should arrive to the I-95 corridor. We could get a few earlier cells to the east toward Myrtle Beach just after the lunchtime hour, but our main line again extending now about 3, 4 o'clock, anywhere from just to the west of Myrtle Beach all the way down to Charleston and then offshore. So this is the main line that we're going to be watching over the next couple of hours into the afternoon. That's the line that could produce those damaging wind gusts and those isolated tornadoes. Good news is that primary line of storm should depart the coastline anywhere between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock, give or take a couple of hours there in that time frame. And on this particular run of Futurecast, a couple of pockets of heavier rainfall can't be ruled out once we make it into the evening hours, but I don't anticipate any of these will be stronger cells. We just could get a few quick blips of heavier rainfall toward the I-95 corridor around the evening rush. But again, that severe threat should exit off the coastline. I'm backing up Futurecast, going to move it forward. That main severe threat should exit off the Atlantic coast between 4 and 6 o'clock this evening. So that's when we can get the all clear once that main line moves offshore. But keep in mind, if you are located in the PD or the Low Country, that that line could be moving through as we get into the evening rush. So just keep your eye to the sky before you head out back home on that evening commute. But looking at radar right now, overall, nothing to be too concerned about. We don't have any warnings right now in effect from the National Weather Service over South Carolina. That's a different case, again, for North Carolina and for Virginia. But I'll zoom in, and we do see some dapplings of heavier rain rates, Chesterfield, Patrick, Hartsville, down to Bishopville, and even down toward Lake Marion, just west of Lake Marion and Santee. Couple of just dots of those heavier rain rates. Again, these particular cells that I'm pointing out could produce gusty winds as well. Speaking of gusty winds, let's talk about the threats that the strongest storm cells today could pose. I showed before in our last stream the outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. We do most of the state is hatched in this orange color or this red color. Of course, we did see our watches expire. So again, if you're located toward the upstate and really toward the Western Midlands, the threat is going to start to ramp down even more as we get to the early afternoon. But where I hatch here in green, hugging the I-95 corridor east to the PD and the Low Country, you still are at risk for scattered to numerous stronger thunderstorms later on today. That's what these orange and red colors mean, is that we do expect more widespread as opposed to isolated stronger storms. If we go to the threats that these storms could pose today, low end risk for hail, that's really not our main concern. Our primary concern are damaging straight line winds. We could see scattered gusts in excess of 60 miles an hour, maybe a rogue 75-mile-an-hour gust. It looks like the setup is a little bit better to the north over North Carolina and Virginia, but we can't rule it out over the PD and the northern Midlands later on this afternoon. And on top of that, again, we do have that risk for tornadoes. Thankfully, we've seen that tornado watch eroded for the Midlands and the upstate, but we still have that tornado watch in effect along the I-95 corridor, and we might see that extended a little bit farther east once we get toward the afternoon. But your highest risk, again, going to be this area in red that I just circled. So that's what we're looking at today. Our main modes of severe will likely be damaging wind gusts and that risk for tornadoes. I want to talk a little bit about what we're expecting once this front moves through. A very cold air mass behind it should arrive. We'll see skies starting to clear out. I'll toggle ahead my Futurecast. Notice our main storm line moving offshore around 4 or 5 o'clock, couple of straggler cells. Before sunset, once we get toward the sunset hour, conditions really settling down, but that's when the cold air seeps in. Take a look at temperatures across the state. Once the sun sets, most spots sitting in the 40s, and the upstate will already be in the 30s, and those temperatures are just going to continue to drop overnight. Unfortunately, winter is not gone. We did have a nice preview of summer last week, but those above average temperatures are gone, at least for the short term. By tomorrow morning, we're looking at low temperatures near or below freezing from I-95 west. If you are located on the coastline, you'll be a little bit warmer, but still quite chilly in the 30s. So with that comes freeze alerts. We already looked at our tornado watches for severe alerts, but also we do have frost and freeze alerts, or rather just freeze alerts in effect for both tonight and tomorrow night. So freeze watch in effect for counties closer to the coastline, freeze warning in effect for the Midlands and parts of the interior low country, including Columbia, Aiken, Allendale. You're all under a freeze warning tonight, and we do expect those alerts to be extended into tomorrow night because our lows on Wednesday morning, so tomorrow night into Wednesday morning, could actually fall to the mid 20s toward the upstate, the upper 20s in the Midlands, below freezing along and west of 95, and near freezing in parts of the PD in the low country. So something else to keep in mind and to keep your eye out for once we get past this threat for severe weather. I'm going to pop right back to our analysis mode, see if we have anything new from the National Weather Service. Just going to let this animate for a second. We can see those storms as they kind of cross through the state. We had all those warnings earlier this morning as those storms came east of the mountains and into the Midlands. But once we really got past the morning commute, most of our warnings seem to have expired. And that's a good thing. We want things to settle down a little bit. Hopefully they stay that way, but we do expect, as I showed you on Futurecast and on those watches, we do expect storms to ramp up a little bit this afternoon before things taper off once those storms eject off the Atlantic coastline. I showed you this one model on our graphics system. I'm also going to pull up on my web browser and I'm going to pull it into the main screen here on the right-hand side. I'm just going to do a quick check and make sure that we can see that in our graphics. I think we can. So we are going to continue. Hopefully you guys can see that in our stream. This is another high resolution model. I just want to show you what this particular model run is showing as we go forward in time. Again, a little bit of intensification this afternoon as we get toward 3, 4 o'clock, the I-95 corridor, and off the coast of the Atlantic coast. You can see around 5 o'clock, our main line of storms ejecting off the Atlantic coastline. Couple of stray pockets of moderate rainfall to light rainfall possible before and around sunset before things settle down. So overall, models are pretty much in agreement that we could see a little bit of resurgence in storm strength this afternoon through about the evening commute, then those storms moving offshore. Just wanted to show you that, those two different model runs. That we can take a look at. Something to think about, especially if you are under a tornado watch or if a warning is issued for your area later today. Best thing to do if a severe thunderstorm warning or tornado warning is issued for your area is to get inside, stay on the lowest level of a sturdy building, stay away from windows, and stay inside until the storm has passed. I know sometimes we like to try to jump ahead of it and get outside and get back to business, but stay inside until you get the all clear until the storm has passed or the warning expires for your particular area. I'm going to bring on the screen full these graphics of our hazards today. Our biggest hazard really is going to be 60 to 75 mile an hour wind gusts, medium chance for tornadoes, especially in the northern Midlands and the PD, medium chance to low end chance for hail from these storms. Let's take a look back at our current satellite or our current radar view, rather. Really, again, thankfully for us right now, not a whole lot going on. We are going to be monitoring things in the storm center as the afternoon progresses because we do expect storms to get a little bit stronger, see a little bit of resurgence in strength, especially toward the PD along the I-95 corridor and potentially toward the low country, the I-95 corridor over the next several hours. But we're going to be monitoring this in the storm center as the morning progresses into the afternoon. We'll be back in a little bit with updates for you. But until then, I'm meteorologist Megan Borowski for SCE TV. Thank you for tuning in to this stream.